Let's imagine a time when there were no nations, no prime ministers or presidents ruling, no defined ruler over there, but it was divided into certain kingdoms when each kingdom was ruled by a ruler and they were trying to expand their territory by defeating the another ruler. Yes, this was the situation of Europe in 1718 and early 19th century, and this is what is the agenda of the chapter, that is Rise of Nationalism in Europe, the first chapter in your syllabus, the most high weighted chapter, most difficult one, which many students in class 10 scare about. And my dear students, welcome on the platform. Deeksha Vedantu and I am your SST teacher, SST faculty, and we are going to fall in love with SST. Don't worry about that. I know there are a lot of students who worry about history, or there are some of the students who actually love history. So let's see how we can decode this chapter in the easiest way possible. Before moving further, let me tell you the heading of this chapter is Rise of Nationalism in Europe, which is at first we need to decode. See, here is a word that is referred as nationalism. Now, if we divide it into two parts, that is nation plus ism, basically the feeling of or the sense of feeling of connectivity towards a nation is known as what, beta? Nationalism. Nationalism is a feeling of collective identity, of common identity, having some connection with that territory, and this is known as nationalism. For example, whenever there is a match, like cricket match, okay, with any of the country, mostly the country that is our neighbor. So whenever we have that cricket match, we feel that India should win. Right? India should win always. Always you feel that. Why? Because there is a feeling of nationalism among us. Now you might be thinking, ma'am, isn't it patriotism? Beta, there is a huge difference between patriotism and nationalism. See, whenever you love your what? Territory, you love your entity, that is known as patriotism. But whenever you feel sense of what? Connection towards your nation, that is nationalism. There is a huge difference between patriotism and what? Nationalism. Patriotism is a love, or however, when I talk about nationalism, is it a sense of collective belonging towards a nation. Okay, that I belong to this place and this place should always be first place in each of the thing. And we have taken the example of the cricket match here. So rise word here means that in Europe, we know that there were certain kingdoms which were ruled by definite rulers, in which rulers were changing because someone was defeating the other one. But in entire Europe, there was aristocracy. Aristocracy here means that rule in which power wins. There was nothing like rights given to the citizen as it was in the entire world in the same period of time. Okay, so now what happened that it led to the rise of nationalism in Europe? If you remember in class 9th, the first chapter was French Revolution, in which we saw that the people of France stood together, made a revolution to change that regime, autocratic regime of Louis XVI, of this Bourbon dynasty. Do you remember that? What was it? That was the development of the feeling of what? Nationalism among the people of France. Getting my point? Getting that connectivity? Because here in class 10th also we will refer small things from what? French Revolution chapter 2. So I hope that the introduction is quite clear to you. Let's start the chapter, and whenever you move to this chapter, the first thing that you are going to see is this picture in your book. Right? Do you know what this picture is about? So this is a picture that reflects the feeling of nationalism in this century by a French artist known as what? This French artist was known as Frederick Sorrow. The name was Frederick Sorrow. This picture is painted by Frederick Sorrow in the year 1848. In which year, bacha? 1848. Now we are moving further. After this picture, we'll go back and understand the situation of 17th, 18th century. Okay, getting my point? So this is painted in 1848 by Frederick Sorrow, and this Frederick Sorrow is representing a utopian vision in this picture. What do you mean by this word utopian? That this vision is not succeeded up till now, but it can happen in future. Getting my point? In this picture, you will see a long queue of people coming and moving towards what? Statue of Liberty, paying homage to it. Now, liberty means freedom. And the Statue of Liberty right now is in USA. USA is the first country that gave what? Freedom to its citizens, or USA is the first country that became democratic. That is the reason this long queue of people is going and giving homage to the Statue of Liberty. This Statue of Liberty is holding torch of enlightenment in one hand and what we can say Bill of Rights in the another one. What do you mean by Bill of Rights? Fundamental rights. Okay, got it. Why these people are moving to Statue of Liberty? Because they also want their nations to be liberal. Now here comes the word nation. Ma'am, how do we know that they want their nations to be freedom? Because bacha, in everyone's hand you can see flag, different flags representing their territories or their culture. Getting my point? And they want those territory to be referred as nation. We will understand very nicely what actually is nation in this video only. Getting my point? Now, whole of the scene is like witnessed by Jesus Christ and his angels and giving blessings to the people. Similarly, in this picture, on the left side of the Statue of Liberty, you will see the map of, flag of France. Why? Because France in the year 1848 became republic. Now it is the chance that because France became republic, the feeling of nationalism was spreading in the nearby areas, and these peoples are fighting to become what? Fighting to become independent, republic, change their autocratic regime, etc. So this is the picture all about. Okay, this is the picture all about. Now here comes a word that is nation. Ma'am, you are again and again saying that the feeling of collective belonging, common identity towards the territory is known as nationalism. And nationalism can only come whenever we have nation. Right now India is a nation. We say that USA is a nation. But from where that concept came? But if we talk about older times, there were old estates. Now whenever I say the word state, the state does not mean state of Karnataka, Madhya Pradesh, etc. The state here means the entire country. So there was an old stage where was no defined territory. Why? Because they were expanding. Like if I talk about Mughal Empire, can we say that this is the territory of Mughal Empire? No, they were expanding day by day, or like they were defeating also, in which their territories were lost. Similarly in Europe, like it is Bourbon dynasty of Spain or Napoleon, they were fighting among each other, and this old state was there. In this old state, there was no rights given to citizens. No rights given to citizens. Some were enjoying privileges on the basis of birth, if you remember. Right? There was no defined, like there were rulers, and these rulers were autocratic in nature. Autocratic in nature. Now what happened, beta? Replacing these states, replacing this old state, modern state came into being. Modern state came into being. How do we know that? Do you remember last year we studied French Revolution? Yes. Situation changed in French Revolution. A modern state came. Came replacing the monarchical order. Do you guys remember, like Napoleon also came, Maximilian Robespierre developed a republic nation. That we can call as a modern state. But in this modern state, the concept is that there is a centralized power. Now there is a centralized power. Like in India we have a centralized power. Yes. This centralized power rule over a defined territory, right? This centralized power rule over a defined territory, that this is a region where I am going to rule. So now pay attention here. How this modern state is formed, like how France was formed. Because in France there was a common identity of the people. There was a common identity of the people, that these people speaks the language French. How Italy is formed? Because we see that there is a common identity among the people, that these are Italian people. But now if I tell you that, ma'am, like if I tell you an example of India, do we have any commonality like this? No. Do we have a common religion? No. Common language? No. Common culture? No. So can't we call this as a modern state? Yes, we cannot. Why? Because we will call it a nation. Now in nation also we need some common identity na? No beta, pay attention to this, because this is very well defined by a person who is known as Ernst Renan. He was a professor. He gave the speech in the University of Sorbonne where he explained very nicely that what is a nation. Beta, nation is a defined territory in which there is culmination of long past. Like what is common among Indians is not the religion, culture, language. But what is common among every individual of India is the common past, that we face the clutches of Britishers. We used to be ruled by the Mughal Empire, so we had a common past, and that is what is a nation. If you now go back and read this definition of nation state, will be crystal clear to all my students that nation state is in which majority of its citizens and not only its ruler came to develop a sense of common identity and shared history. We have a common identity that we are Indians. Why? Because we shared the history and the descent. Getting my point? This is what is difference between modern state and nation state. If you are wondering that, ma'am, is the question coming from this topic? Yes, sometimes the question for 2 marks can come from this topic, that what is the difference between a modern state and a nation state. Now, we are done with the introduction of the chapter, that what actually is nationalism, what actually is a nation, and what actually is the difference between modern state and a nation state. Now, coming to the main topic, the first main topic of the chapter, which is usually used for 5 marks. Okay. Why I am referring here's the mark first, so that you can take the topic that seriously. Topic is rise of collective belonging among French people. Go back in your memory to the first class of class 9th where you studied the chapter French Revolution. 1789, when the people of France came on the streets and started the revolution again, Louis XVI the monarch. Why? Because he was autocratic, not giving rights to the individual. People gathered, demanded for a national assembly, that there should be assembly in which all the political decisions are taken by the active members. Okay, now the picture is clear to us. But how? What happened? Yeah, how they developed that feeling of nationalism among the people, that they came together. Now this is the next task. And the question is that how did the people of France raise the feeling of collective belonging among themselves? And here are the points. I hope it is clear. If it is not clear, I'll make it I'll write it over here. Now, coming to the first point, that is ideas of la patrie and les citoyens. Pay attention, beta, it is very, very important. I am writing the keywords over here because all the time you struggle is for the keywords, right? So, the first thing is the ideas of la patrie. Now, what is this la patrie means? La patrie means fatherland. So, pay attention, the idea of la patrie and les citoyens, where les citoyens here means, beta, we are the citizens of this fatherland. So whenever this feeling was developed among this people, the idea was generated and spreaded among the people that there is la patrie, the fatherland, les citoyens, the citizens. We the citizens are the child of this fatherland, and this build up what? A notion of united community among the people, and these people will be enjoying equal rights under the citizen. This is what the people of France wanted. That there are certain people, nobles and clerks, enjoying the privilege on the basis of work. Why not we enjoy equal rights under the citizens? And this made them to come together for French Revolution. Getting my point? The next point is to build more. Like if we see Indian flag, don't we feel connected? We do. Similarly, they made a national flag of France too. Okay, the tricolor national flag of France, and I think that you remember that three colors because we studied in class 9, and you are going to comment right now that what were the three colors. So okay, so there was a what making of national flag tricolor. This was to replace the royal standard flag, the royal standard flag that used to be like made by whom? The Louis XVI or the Bourbon dynasty and the kings. So they replaced that flag. Now flag is making what? Feeling of collectivity among themselves, connectivity among themselves. Third point is the Estate General was elected by the body of active citizens and it was renamed as National Assembly. So basically National Assembly was made. National Assembly was made. In this National Assembly, the members will be elected. It will be a body and the members will be elected by the active citizens of the country. If you remember, last year we studied, but a State General was a political body. There were three states: noble, clergy, as well as the third state. All these three states have a representation in this body, a State General, and they took all some important political decisions like to increase tax and all. But now we know that the third state had highest population, around 60% of population. When we talk about this representation, it was quite low, so it was unfair, and hence they decided that we wanted a National Assembly to be elected by the active citizens, to be elected by the active citizens of the nation. Active citizens, basically right to give vote was not given to everyone. There was certain qualification for that. They were known as active citizens. Get it? New hymns were composed, oath was taken, martyrs were commemorated, as we do to build up this feeling of nationalism. Centralized administrative system was put in place. So now, if there will be division among administration, how can people feel united? So let's make a united administrative division so that there will be uniform laws, similar laws for all the people in the country. This was a good step. Next is the internal custom duties and dues were abolished. See, if this is the French territory and here the kingdom were divided like this, whenever and trade was done from one territory to another, when transport was done, what happened? These taxes were collected over the territories. Taxes were collected by one and another kingdoms, and this was not correct because this is an entire same territory. So let's abolish all these internal custom duties and taxes, rather build a uniform system in which the item of import and export will be weighted in a similar manner. Everyone should have a same unit because previously the units of measurements were different. Now that was so critical. Like here the unit of measurement is something else and there is something else. We will get it clearly in the chapter only. And the last and the important point, beta, regional dialects. Now all those regions have difference in their dialects, so what they decided that let's do not promote them, because whenever there will be difference in the languages, they are not going to feel united. Let's bring French as a medium for this French Revolution. And this is how, bacha, these people brought a feeling of collective belonging among the French people so that they can fight in the French Revolution. Is it clear? Again, we are going to repeat it again. We are going to revise it again. First point was introduction of the ideas like la patrie and les citoyens so that it can bring a feeling of united community. Okay. Flag was made, that was tricolor, replacing the royal standard flag. New hymns were composed, oath was taken, martyrs were commemorated. A State General was replaced by a body that is National Assembly, where they will be elected by active citizens. A centralized administrative system will be made. Why? So that there will be equal uniform law for the country, for all the citizens of the country. Then we have what? Then we abolished internal custom duties and dues. Why? So that we can develop a similar pattern of weights and measures. And then regional dialects were discouraged and French was promoted. 7 points, and these are the points which are going to give you 5 marks. Whenever you will see this question, you will remember me. I know that. Now comes the main topic, that is Napoleon. Now, how Napoleon came into picture? See, this chapter will contain a switch on and switch off button. The topics will be changing, like switch on, switch off. We'll study French, then we'll go somewhere, then we'll go somewhere, then we'll come back somewhere. So be ready for that it is quite confusing what is going on, because we are reading about entire Europe in just single chapter. So it will be difficult. We can't read a storyline because all the countries do not have the same storyline. Now, remember the last year. The last year you studied entirely about what? Entirely about France. That in France there was revolution done by French people. So France from monarchy became constitutional monarchy. Then against these constitutional monarchies stand up like people people wanted to demand for republic, and they stood up and did the revolution that was led by Maximilian Robespierre, and hence nation become republic. After that nation become republic, the political order was disturbed. Then who came into power? Napoleon. If I say Napoleon is a democratic, no, he was not. Napoleon was in monarchy, no, he was not. Napoleon was a dictator. He never wished to establish democracy in the nation, but still there are some of the points in which Napoleon was good, and one among that is Napoleonic Code. Beta, since 1798, pay attention to that. 1789 was French Revolution. There were a lot of things happened in France we right now discussed. Since 1798, he was fighting war with various regions, and finally in 1804, he was proclaimed as the Emperor of France. Okay, he was proclaimed as the Emperor of France, and from here his atank will be increasing, or what I can say that his rule is going to be imposed. When he came to power, he introduced a code that is known as Napoleonic Code or the Civil Code of 1804. Why so? See, his vision was to bring freedom. Like if I talk about monarchy, they were not ready to give rights to the citizen, either it be social, political or economical. But here if I talk about Napoleon, he no doubt destroyed democracy. He established dictatorship, but he brought certain administrative changes in the society which were favorable for the people. And what were they? And that is what we are going to study right now. See, this is popularly known as Napoleonic Code or Civil Code. In this Civil Code of 1804, the first thing what he did was, he did away all the privileges on the basis of birth. Do you remember class 9? Clergy, nobles enjoying the privileges on the birth. No one was paying the tax and all that. So the first thing what he did was to did away all the privileges on the basis of birth. How? By establishing equality before the law. Everyone will be equal before the law, and when everyone is equal, they will be securing what? Right to property. They will be securing bacha what? Right to property. Okay, this is the first thing. Now, Napoleon, because Napoleon was powerful, he was dictator, and he was fighting war with other regions too. So this code was not only remitted to the France territory, rather to everywhere where he was having the control. So this code was exported to the region under French control at that time. That region were Dutch Republic, Switzerland, Italy, Germany. Now, bacha, when the empire is increasing, don't you think that administration needs to be simplified by? Yes. How he could cover the administration of all the regions, dividing it into some hands? No. Because decentralization can lead to his less power. So what he did, he simplified administrative divisions, administrative systems by abolishing a system known as feudal system. By abolishing the system known as feudal system, if you are not aware about what this feudal system is, but in Europe this was so prevalent in the 17th and 18th century. What happened? there were certain people who were high class people, like for example, take the example of noble and clergy. Clergies were the people who were the church community, and nobles were who were living with rulers, and they were having the ministerial post in the kingdoms. Okay, so these people have the right to secure the property, do you think that they will go on these farms and work as an agriculture labor? No. So they were referred as feudal lords. They owe this land and ask the people who were from the third estate, or the people who were workers, laborers, referred as serf here, to work over there and even pay the manorial dues, because they provided them the land to work. Isn't it strange? Yes. And this system was known as serfdom system. So the first thing what he did was to abolish this feudal system. And free the peasant from paying these serfdom dues and the manorial dues. Getting my point? This was the first thing that came from the Civil Code of 1804. What is that? That's abolishment of the feudal system, freeing the peasants from serfdom and their manorial dues. Now what happened? A lot more to do. The third point is, beta, in the towns also the people were so smart. Trade guilds were made. Now what is guilds? Guilds means group. The people who were traders, like we also have communities like Gupta communities, Bohra communities, who were basically traditional traders. So here also in Europe, there were certain communities who were traditionally traders. They made the guilds, the groups, and restricted others from doing the trade. Now, what will happen with that? Other people will not have any economic freedom if they wanted to do anything. They were not having an economic freedom, and this restriction was removed by Napoleon. Okay? For all these systems, because now as they open up the economy, the transport and communication system need to be improved, and this is how these peasants, artisans, workers, new businessmen enjoy a new found freedom. Up till now, what are you thinking in mind? That, ma'am, Napoleon was a good person. Right? Napoleon was a good person. He gave so many rights to the citizens, but a similar thinking was of the people who were living in the French control at that time. Initially, everyone welcomed Napoleon wholeheartedly, because they knew that this is the rights we were demanding from the monarch. We wanted equality in the society by the monarch, which was not provided. Napoleon did. We wanted economic freedom. Napoleon did. But later on, gradually, they understood that, beta, this new administrative system do not go in hand with political freedom. Do they have the right to change the leader? No. Is any decision taken by the leader is also taken by the people? No, because they have no political freedom, no elections, no active citizen, no national assembly. Getting my point? So initially everyone welcomed Napoleon nicely, but later on understood that this administrative system only gives social freedom and as well as economic freedom, but not the political freedom. Right? However, when Napoleon came, there was increase in taxation a lot and censorship too. Censorship, that nobody can speak against the ruler. Exactly what dictator is doing now. What dictator do actually. And forced conscription into the French armies. Now, what do you mean by forced conscription? Beta, forcefully asking the men to join the army, because as France was expanding, the French control was expanding, he needed people in the army. So, forceful, what we can say, forceful involvement of people in the army to conquer the rest of Europe, and this is the criticism of Napoleon. Right? Does the question comes from it? Yes, for sure. The Napoleonic Code is very, very important. 3 marker, 5 marker question can come, and I have told you the points already. Whenever you write the answer, bacha, then now your answer should be in points. That's the reason my whole class today will be in points. Okay, so I hope you understood up till here. Moving further. Now, we will talk about one new feeling of it. I'm all again and again telling a word that is freedom. Okay, I'm again and again telling a word freedom. Fine. I'm again and again using a word that is nationalism. Okay, this we did from the starting of the chapter. But now the question is, how did this feeling, right? How did this feeling of nationalism grew among the people in Europe? Right? How did it grow among the people of Europe? Let's take the example of an empire that is referred as Habsburg Empire. Right? Let's take the example of an empire like it was French Empire. Similarly in Europe, in the place right now referred as Hungary and the nearby areas like Austria, there was an empire ruling referred as Habsburg Empire. Let's see in the map what this empire is all about. See, it included the region that is Alpine region, which included Tyrol, Austria and Sudetenland. Now let's come to the map and figure out where actually is the Habsburg Empire. See, this dark yellow color contains the Habsburg Empire. In this Habsburg Empire, this was Austria, this was Tyrol. Why we are referring this region? But these regions were the regions that were German speaking region. Okay. Now, it also included the Italian speaking region. The whole Habsburg Empire contained the area where what was spoken, like Italian as a language was spoken. When you will see this area of south, right? This area of south to Tyrol, you can understand that here basically this language was spoken. So now we got the people from German speaking, now we got the people from Italian speaking. Now in Hungary particularly, half of the people spoke the language Magyar, while the rest of the people have different dialects. Why are we talking about this again and again in this chapter? There were people living in Galicia, right? The aristocratic people here speaks the language Polish. There is no more French as the aristocratic language. And beside these, there were certain regions with different different language. There were Romans living over there. There were regions like, if we go in detail, there were regions like Bohemians, Slovaks to the north, Slovenes in the Carniola, Croats to the south, and Romans to the east. All this you can witness over here in map particularly. See, this is Transylvania where Roman people were living. This is Galicia where Polish people were living. So when different people were living in this entire region, then how there is a possibility, how there is a chance that feeling of nationalism was growing among the people? This itself is a region. See, whenever in an empire, people with different identity, with different background, with different history is living for a long time, there will be a time in the history where pressure cooker will blow up. Their anger will blow out and they will ask for freedom, for an entity, for a territory that is nation. So how did this nationalism grew among the people and the idea of nationalism emerged? This is what we have to talk about today. This is the map of Europe. This is what, my dear student, this is the map of Europe. In this entire Europe, let me divide it into two parts. And the two parts will be like this. The two parts will be like this. If I talk about this left part, which included the regions like United Kingdom, Ireland, France, Germany, Poland. But like if we see now also, we always say that development comes from West. And here I mean West in Western Europe also. There was a huge difference between Western as well as Central and Eastern Europe. How there was difference between the two? By in the Western Europe, there were land areas. Like one common identity is that land is occupied by the feudal lords and serf people are working over there. But in this region, what happened, bacha? The population particularly became literate. Okay, first, because development, or what we can say renaissance, the revolution always started from the from the West, right? So the people here became literate. When the people here became literate, they become educated. Okay, they got literacy, they become educated. Now, as they become educated, they started small businesses. right? They started small businesses and even give education to their child also. And this is how a new class society emerged, that is referred as middle class. If you remember last year in French Revolution, you studied that there is a role of middle class in raising the French Revolution. Similarly, because here in the West, a middle class people raised, and this middle class people asked for, demanded for revolution in the type of society, because now they are enlightened with the philosophy like there is democracy, there is equality, etc. Right? When these people became educated elites, what happened? Nationalism, the feeling of nationalism grew over there. They find out that we have collectiveness. We should have a collective identity. And when nationalism grew over there, gradually this nationalism will come to these regions also. Right? I'll tell you one thing, that this particular area is referred as Balkan region. Why I'm telling you this? Because in the last we will be dealing with a topic that is Balkan crisis. So the countries like Hungary, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Romania, Serbia, Bulgaria, this is known as what? Balkan region. First, what happened? Nationalism grew here and eventually moved to here. So now you understood that because of these middle class people, the growth of middle class people, the nationalism grew. And which type of nationalism grew, bacha? Liberal nationalism. We know that nationalism is just a feeling of common identity for a nation. But how you have to live in that nation, and that is with freedom. And here comes a term, that is liberal nationalism. What is liberal nationalism? Let me tell you, beta, this liberal word, right? This liberal word comes from a Latin word, that is liber. Comes from a Latin word, that is liber, which means actually freedom. The society of Europe at that time was such that some people were enjoying privilege, others were not. The rulers were aristocratic, who were not giving any rights to the citizens. They were autocratic in nature, and that is why people demanded for nation. Which type of nation? Nation that has freedom, and here comes the word liberal nationalism. Okay, again 5-marker question comes from this topic, that explain what is liberal nationalism in the context of social, political and economy. So when I say social liberalism, what will you understand, beta? Freedom in the society. What do you understand? Freedom in the society, for obvious. In society, which type of freedom does people want? So people want freedom from individual and equality before law. Right? They want right to property. This is the basic thing. Then if I go about political liberalism, that Napoleon did not provide it. If I talk about political liberalism, beta, they wanted the government to be chosen by their consent. Like Napoleon was not chosen by the people. Maximilian Robespierre was chosen by the people, but what he did was not good. And that those people were also like limited in scope, right? Then if I talk about Bourbon dynasty, not chosen by the people. So here they want that you keep monarchy, but we want constitutional monarchy. What do you mean by that? That the person should not be autocratic. He should be responsible to someone, or responsible means answerable to the people, the citizens particularly. So here they wanted end of autocracy. What? End of autocracy and all those privileges. Rather, there should be a constitution. What is constitution? Book of rules. Book of rules on which the ruler will be working. According to which ruler will be working. So they said we wanted a constitution in which there should be laws for representative government chosen by the people through a parliament. What is this parliament? A body of elected members. Like in India, we the citizens of India choose elected members in the parliament, and government work according to the parliament, is answerable to the parliament, because everything is written in the constitution and parliament is working as per the constitution. This is what the people were demanding at that time to get the political liberalism. Get it? Clear? Now moving towards economic liberalism by freedom in the economy. What do you want in economy? There should be free what? Movement of goods and capital, goods and services. So there will be freedom of market. Now why freedom of market was not there, beta? Because the territories were not nation, it was ruled by certain rulers, and what they were doing, when one product moved from another, one territory to another, they were imposing custom duties, means taxes. So certain state-based restrictions were there, which was making an item so expensive. If this is not clear to you now, I'll tell you with the help of an example, and that will be more and more clear to all of you. That example, I think I have not listed over here, but I'll tell you the example. Okay, let's hear that story of example. What happened? Consider you are doing trade and a product is being moved from one territory to another. I don't remember that territory, either it's from... Okay, there are 2 points, point A and point B. So, when a product is moved from this point A and point B, what happens now? It should move towards 11. It should move towards 11 points. It should move toward 11 points. And at 11 places, they are paying the tax of 5%. Don't you think the product bought at A will become 55% expensive at the place B? I remember it's from Luxembourg to Nuremberg, right? It's from Luxembourg to Nuremberg when a product is moved from Luxembourg to Nuremberg, and that product is a cloth. Okay? It is a cotton cloth, and the measurement for this cloth was done in LA at that time. Okay, the unit of measurement, jai we have meter, there was LA, and this unit of LA was different in all the places. For example, there are territories, mains, right? Nuremberg, Luxembourg, the value of this LA was different everywhere. For example, it is for 54.7 here, it is 55.8 here, it is 60 centimeter here. So it was different from every place. Don't you think that when you move this product from point A to this point, right, first you have to pay the tax and get it measured once more, because here the weight and measure is different. So this is so critical. The movement of trades were so critical, and hence there was no economic freedom. Okay, now so coming back to this custom union or Zollverein. See, what happened? People got educated and now they formed a group known as Custom Union, popularly known as Zollverein, and this was made in the year 1834. What this group is about? So there was a territory referred as Prussia. Let me tell you with that map. Let's go back to this. Let's clear all the link. Bacha, this is Germany right now. This brown color is what? Germany right now. In this Germany, there was a region referred as Prussia. This region referred as Prussia, this was the largest German territory at that time. If you want more clear picture, let's go back to here. Like if I talk about this was France. This was Austrian Empire. This purple color, this was Prussia. And this was what, beta? Prussia. Later, this region only became Germany. Okay. So now, custom union, if I talk about custom union, in custom union, this territory known as Prussia took the initiative and joined most of the German state. Why Prussia? Because it was big, it was powerful. So it joined all the German states, said that let's come together, form a union referred as custom union. What is the objective of this union? Is to abolish tariff barrier. Like, see, if this is Prussia, these were many German territories. Right? Prussia told everyone, see, we have a common identity, that we have a common language. But when we transport one good to another place, we apply custom duty on it. right? We have different weights and measures which create a problem. So to solve that problem, let's abolish those tariff barriers, reduce the number of currency. Even currency was also different in different region, and so this two things was done. They abolished the tariff barriers and they reduced the currency from 30 to 2. Okay, there used to be 30 territories was brought down currency, which was brought down to 2. So for all these, for facilitating all these things, we need to develop a network of railway, beta. We need to make it more mobile, right? So that the economic interest of unification is fulfilled here. Now pay attention that this is the first time when German territories having some common identity with an objective for economy, just for economic, coming together. But don't you think that a feeling of united community is getting developed over here? Similarly, this economic interest will later move towards political interest. Now, France became republic in 1848. I'll tell you the story of that also. Similarly, the German regions in the background are also coming together, building this feeling of united community. The building was going on, which in 1834. So this custom union for the first time was made in 1834. Very good. Okay, it is understood to us very nicely. But ma'am, the confusion is getting in our mind that what's going on in the picture. I'll clear you with the example of France. So France used to be a conservative society. What are conservative? Who believe that there will be a monarch, he will be aristocratic, there will be societal divisions and no equality will be there. Under Bourbon dynasty, right? Under Bourbon dynasty in 1789. Now what happened? Revolution happened and people demanded for what, beta? Constitutional monarchy. Monarch will be there, but he will be answerable to the constitution. Now came the people who demanded for republic under Maximilian Robespierre. Maximilian Robespierre was not good for the society and hence come Directory. Directory was not stable for the political order and hence come dictatorship under Napoleon. Napoleon came into power in 1804. Why I am telling this? Because we are going back to France now. Now Napoleon came, Napoleon developed the civil code. That civil code was somewhere dependent on the feeling of liberalism. We understood what actually liberalism is with the help of social, economic and political divisions. But then we figure out that Napoleon was not that good. Right? When Napoleon was not that good, then what happened? See, Napoleon was a liberal leader. But do you think that the people of Europe or those people in Europe from whom Napoleon took the power might be happy? No. Napoleon was expanding his control to the regions around the France, right? Austrian region, Italy, Germany, etc. He was taking the power. Don't you think that the monarchy was not happy? Yes. The monarchy was like scared of the expansion of power? Yes. Now what happened? All these monarchs came together and fought against Napoleon at the Battle of Waterloo. Something from class 9 is coming in your mind or not? So, at the Battle of Waterloo and defeated him. And here again comes conservative society in Europe. Okay, why here I am saying Europe? Because in the rest of Europe it was conservatives only. Only in France Napoleon came and bring this liberal ideas. Now in France Napoleon was defeated. Again what came? These conservatives. So in the entire Europe this was new. We are saying it as new conservatives. We are referring them as new conservatives this time. So he was defeated at the Battle of Waterloo, bacha. After that battle, a treaty was signed and that treaty is referred as Treaty of Vienna. Right now, Vienna is the capital of a country, Austria, where Austrian Empire was there. Okay, where Habsburg Empire was there. Habsburg Empire was basically covering Austria and Hungary, and during the time Napoleon occupied Austria also. ठीक है. So in this Treaty of Vienna, what happened? Like if I talk about this, in this Treaty of Vienna, what happened? But it was hosted by an Austrian Chancellor, Duke Metternich. It was hosted by an Austrian Chancellor, Duke Metternich. Question can come as an MCQ. Right now, what was the objective of this treaty? Right, what was this objective of this treaty? Treaty was signed between Napoleon, because he was defeated, and on the other side were group of monarchs. All they together met at the place known as Vienna, which was hosted by Austrian Chancellor Duke Metternich, and the objective was to restore the monarchical order. Okay, restore the monarchical order by taking away all the rights, all the powers from the hands of Napoleon. What they did, first of all, in France, they restored this Bourbon dynasty again came into picture. Right, they brought back again the Bourbon dynasty in power. France lost all the territories that were annexed by Napoleon, obviously, fine. A series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent French control. See, if I talk about the group of monarch, it particularly contains the monarch of Prussia, right, Austria, okay, France, etc. These were the people, right? Now what they did, even Russians too. So Prussia, Austria, Russia, France. So if I tell you that this is France, what they did, some territories were here taken over by Austrian people, some were taken over by Russian people, here some was taken by French people, some with Italy and Germany shared with them. What happened by doing that, they basically circled France from four sides so that not any time the someone like Napoleon can come back and take over the nearby territories. Okay, so series of states were set up on the boundaries of France to prevent the French war expansion. Objective was to restore monarchy in France. It was to restore monarchy in France. Let's go back to this map and understand the situation very nicely. Okay, understand the situation very nicely. So this was Russia. Okay, this was Russia. You know, some area of Polish occupation, like Prussian occupation here, some area here which comes under French control was given to, Poland was given to Russia. Poland was given to Russia. Getting my point? Like if I tell you more clearly, beta, this is France, right? So France expanded its region up till here during the time of who? Napoleon. But now they do not want France to be great. They want to restore the power of monarchy. So this was just remained as France. This region, right? This region came under Austrian influence, Austrian Empire. This was given to Austrian Empire completely. Some of this territory, Saxony or Polish people, this was given to Russia. Okay. Some of the control was taken over by Spain over here. Some of these kingdoms were given to Spanish rulers. So why are they doing this? Just that so that French power can never be creating huge mess like it used to be. See, Prussia, Austria is Modena, that's not to be remembered. Getting my point? Clear everything? Okay. Now what happened? Which rule established in the entire Europe? New conservatism. Okay. What came into power in Europe? New conservatives came into power. Okay. Whenever in our, like at our home also, whenever our father is scolding us 24/7, restricting us from doing something, not treating us equally like our sibling, not giving any right, not asking you anything, what will happen? Someday will come that you will revolt. Someday will come that you will raise your voice. That happens actually, right? The treatment is actually, warm treatment is needed to everyone. Similarly, beta, in Europe, new conservatives came into power, providing no equality to the citizens, no rights to the citizens. Everyone was suppressed again very harshly. There were censorships, they were increased in taxation, no rights were given to them. What happened? That pressure among the individuals were increasing day by day. And in meanwhile, they became what? They become liberals. They becomes educated. They are now middle class people also. So because of that pressure, one day that pressure cooker will burst. And that burst is referred as revolutions. So here there is rise of revolutionaries. Again, there is a rise of what, bacha? Revolutionaries. Story is confusing. What is happening? Conservative, republic, again conservative, Napoleon, new conservative, revolutionary. Yes, that's what actually that makes the chapter difficult, but we are learning it into the funniest way possible or easy way possible. I won't say funny because I'm not funny teaching this rise of nationalism to you. So coming to this, there was rise of nationalism, and in this, rise of revolutionaries, in which I will talk about one revolutionary, and gradually you will understand what revolutionaries did. So here it is whom? This picture is of a person referred as Giuseppe Mazzini, right? This person is referred as what, beta? Giuseppe Mazzini. Now, who is this Mazzini? So, if I talk about Mazzini, Mazzini was born in a place referred as Genoa. Right, it was referred as Genoa. Genoa is a part of Sardinia, Piedmont, which is right now in Italy. So, he was born in 1807, the date 1807, at a place that is Genoa, and he became the member of secret society of the Carbonari. Why he became the member of the secret society, and what was that secret society about? Beta, as a young member, he always visioned something. And that vision was to make a united Italy. So he entered, it is a gradual process, right? So he became the member of secret society. There he started doing small revolutions, but at the time, at the age of 24, he was sent to exile in 1831. 1831, he was the age of 24. He was sent to exile for attempting a revolution in Liguria. For attempting a revolution where, beta? In Liguria, right? After that, from there also he was doing planning, plotting, and subsequently founded two societies. Pay attention, subsequently he himself founded the two societies. One was Young Italy in Marseilles, and the other was Young Europe in Bern. Young Italy, Young Europe. What do you mean by this Young Europe and Young Italy? He wanted like-minded young people to join him on his vision. What was the vision actually? The vision was to create a united Italy. Right? He wanted to create a united Italy. He saw that there are a lot of people who speaks the language Italian. But either some of the region is ruled by Austrian Empire, some by Spain ruler, some by Italy people. So why don't we unite them and call it as a nation? Because this point is that he believed that God has intended nations to be natural unit of mankind. Like water, there is a unit liter. Milk, there is a unit liter. For clothes, there was a unit LA. So why not? Why not? The unit of mankind should be there, and that's nation. Getting my point, beta? So Italy has to be forged into a single unified republic. Now he is using the word republic. What do you mean by republic? That the leader of a nation, right? What do you mean by republic? That the leader of the nation should be chosen by the people. Chosen by the people. Okay? The government should be formed by the consent of the people. And this is what he believed. He was doing a lot of revolution at that time, and somewhere Duke Metternich came, and Duke Metternich said, what do you know? What do you know about him? He is the most dangerous enemy of our social order. Which social order he is talking about? That's old social order in which they wanted monarchy. They wanted inequality. They wanted privileges. And he was one who wanted liberal state, republic state, where leader is chosen by the people, so right will be eventually given to the people, na? So this is why Metternich proclaimed him as the most dangerous enemy of the social order, and this is how we studied about the first revolutionary in Europe, whose name is Giuseppe Mazzini. Get it, my dear students? And here comes Mazzini. So, chalo, let's move further and see what is the next topic. So when Mazzini came into picture, one of the revolutionary came into picture, this process or this feeling of revolutions will spread eventually. And similarly, this period 1830 to 1848 is referred as what? The period or age of revolution. How beta? 1804, right? 1804 when Napoleon came into power. Okay? Till 1815 is the time when Treaty of Vienna was signed and he was defeated. So till 1815 this was Napoleonic age. Okay, from 1815 to 1830, this is the period where new conservatives were ruling, were suppressing the people, from 1815 to 1830. Okay, 1850 Treaty of Vienna was signed. So this was going on and on till 1830. Like in the period of this 1830, lot of revolution came into picture, and we will see that it will move up till 1848. Hence in the heading I wrote age of revolution from 1830 to 1848. Clear? First, let us start with France. What happened in France? Why everything is starting in France? Yes, everything is being started in France. So in France, what happened? The first upheaval took place. The first time again a revolution started in the month of July in 1830. The Bourbon kings. Do you remember in 1815 what happened in the Treaty of Vienna? When Napoleon was defeated, who brought into the power? Bourbon dynasty. Now this time the people in 1830 are fighting against this Bourbon king. They were overthrown by liberal revolutionaries and established a constitutional monarchy there. Pay attention, 1815 Treaty of Vienna. What happened? Bourbon dynasty. Who is this Bourbon dynasty? Monarchy. Okay? Age of revolution was going on in the month of July 1830. What happened? Revolution took place. What happened? In 1830, constitutional monarchy came into picture, and the monarch was Louis Philippe at its head. So France became what, beta? France became constitutional monarchy in 1830 with the help of these revolution. Everything will not stop here. It will what? Motivate other nations too. So as France became constitutional monarchy, similar such sparking was seen in Belgium. Now Belgium, from where it came to picture? Let me tell you, with the help of Treaty of Vienna, this Belgium was added to Netherlands. And Netherlands was referred as United Kingdom of Netherlands. Belgium was given to what? Beta, Netherlands. Belgium was also under French control, so it was given to Netherlands. So this Belgium people here sparkled an uprising in Brussels, which is now the capital of Belgium, and now it led to breaking away of Belgium from the United Kingdoms of Netherlands. In which year, bacha? In the similar year 1830, after this revolution, Belgian people also revolted. The picture is not yet over, because such revolution is also seen in a region referred as Greece. If I talk about Greece, if you see the picture of Europe, here it was Greece in the eastern part. Again, the same place which was referred as Balkan, which I told you in that map. Right? And this was ruled by Ottoman Empire. Bacha, Ottoman Empire was ruling in this region of Greece since 15th century. Right now we are studying about 18th century. Since 300 years they are ruled by this autocratic empire, that is Ottoman Empire. Don't you think that when revolutionaries were raising, the feeling of revolution came into the minds of Greece people? Yes, it did. What happened in Greece, beta? The story is quite interesting, and question comes a lot of time because there is something different over here. Everyone is fighting with war, everyone is doing the revolutions, and everyone is coming on the straight. But what happened here in Greece? Greece was the part of Ottoman Empire since 15th century, I just told you. ठीक है? Here the growth of revolutionary nationalism sparkled of a struggle for independence. They wanted बच्चा what? Independence from Ottoman Empire. ठीक है? But this time, this revolutionaries were supported by what? By poets, by artists, right? Why? Because see, if we talk about Greece, Greece was the place in Europe where a civilization started, the first civilization started. So they are referring that Greece is the cradle of European civilization. Right? So with the help of these poems, these artists making print paintings, singing songs, etc., doing dance, they were representing to the people that, bhai, see, we had a great history, we had a great culture, we had a great civilization, and right now we are under the clutches of Ottoman Empire. So we need to get freedom. They were gathering the support of the people, and you know that the people who were living here in exile were also supporting them, considering the Greece as the European cradle of European civilization. One such example is English poet Lord Byron. He organized funds and later fought in the war too, but he died out of fever in 1824. But the result came gradually. What happened? Finally, after long years of revolution, Treaty of Constantinople was signed, in which 1832, in the year 1832, Greece was recognized as an independent nation. So France became constitutional monarchy because of revolution. Belgium became independent of United Kingdoms of Netherlands because of revolution. Greece became an independent nation in 1832 because of revolution. So this was revolutionary age, the age that brought a lot of change in Europe. But do you think the picture is over? No, ma'am, when will the picture over? Gradually it will be. So, beta, acha, here one statement is also given. Like what happened in 1789? France did the revolution, then other nations, I opened that we should do. So every time France is taking the front. So Metternich said that when France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. What happened here? France sneezed and the rest of Europe catches cold. So anything that starts in France is affecting the rest of Europe. That's what he mean by this statement. Okay, beta? Chalo. Now switch off. Switch off to the story what is happening in Europe. Switch off to the story what's happening in Europe. Like we used to do we studied about French. Then we studied about Napoleon. Then we studied, okay, there is term known as liberalism. Then we stopped and understood the term liberalism. Similarly, what was going on? France became constitutional monarchy, Belgium became independent. But here in this complete story, we understood that in Greece, one thing facilitated the revolution was culture. Right? Was culture. How? Because people considered the culture of Greece as the cradle of European civilization. What is this? And that phenomena is the romantic imagination. See, when we talk about the word romanticism, it is a feeling in which the way in which we are showing love to the person. Okay? The way in which we are showing the love to a person. Okay, like if we fall in love with someone, we either like write letters, we express it with the help of song. Similarly, here the romantic imagination is not for a person, but it is for a nation. Okay, and that is referred either as romanticism or romantic imagination. Romanticism or romantic imagination. Getting my point, my dear students? Okay. Question will come. Explain with the help of example. Explain with the help of example what is romanticism. Beta, romanticism is a feeling, is a movement in which we develop a feeling of national sentiments. Okay. How? See, whenever I talk about romance or love, what happened? There is no science reason. Everyone's mind go blank in that theory. Na? So, romanticism is something when you have no signs, no reason why I love my nation, right? But I love my nation because it is based upon emotions, intuitions, and mystic feelings. So, is there any examples with the help of which we made, like with the help of which we grow the feeling of nationalism? Yes, beta, we have the examples, and the examples are here. First example is, there was a German philosopher referred as Johann Gottfried Herder. He claimed that we can develop a feeling of true German culture, but only and only it is possible among the common people, and he referred those common people as Das Volk. How? He said that those common people has folk song, folk poetry, folk dance. Why don't we develop a spirit of nationalism among them with the help of these folk dance and folk songs, like it is happening in India too, na? We have multiple folk songs referring to the nation or the regions, so that we develop a feeling of unity. The second example here is the emphasis on vernacular language by the collection of local folklores. Folk tales were collected. Here is an example of a person, Karol Kurpinski. He did what? He celebrated this nation's struggle with the help of operas. So operas was their music where their songs were singing, which the songs were related to build up the national sentiments feeling. Okay? There were dance styles also, Polonaise and Mazurka. Question can come. What is Polonaise and Mazurka? So these are the folk dances. What are Polonaise and Mazurka? These are the folk dances particularly. Get it? Get it? So if question comes, right, with the help of example, how culture played an important role in raising national sentiments. So these are here. Now let's move further. Is there anywhere role of language in raising national sentiments, beta? Yes, there is role of language in raising national sentiments. Let me tell you, do you remember that Polish region, Poland region? Right? In Treaty of Vienna in 1815, this Polish region was given to Russia. Polish region was given to Russia, and this Russia was so cruel. What they did, beta, after Russian occupation, this Polish language was forced out of the school. So the people who know only Polish language, how they will deal? It was like forced out of the school. Russian language was imposed everywhere. The people revolted for obvious. Right? In 1831, an armed rebellion against Russian rule took place, which was ultimately crushed. So when their revolt crushed, what they did, in the church gathering, they started using the Polish language. But what do you think? It might be easy for them? No, they dealt with prison, with exile. But here, what was the basis for revolution, for raising the national sentiments, was this Polish language, right? So this is it, how language played an important role in raising national sentiments. Get it, my dear students? The story is still remaining, which we have to understand. Okay, come on, let's understand this kahani. Let's understand the story further. Now switch off to the button where we were talking about the topic, that is romanticism. Come back to the story where we left. 1830, France became constitutional monarchy. Belgium became independent. Greece became independent. But story is not over yet. Now what happened in France, beta? In 1830s, these were not only in France, in entire Europe. So these were the years of great economic hardships. These were the years of what? Great economic hardship. So what happened? Why economic hardship? Beta, population was increasing all over Europe. Now, as population is increasing, number of job seekers are increasing. But who is ruling them? Monarchs are ruling them majorly. And they are not worried about the people who are unemployed. So job seekers are increasing. Now these job seekers are moving from rural areas, migrating to urban areas, have no work, eventually leading into formation of slums, overcrowded slums, right? Another economic depression came because in this time particularly, England was growing a lot, right? England has a separate story. England is living in another world. They are focusing upon colonialism. They are focusing upon manufacturing. So now what happened? The complete Europe is fighting a stiff competition with England. Because what happened? They were producing mechanized goods. The other nations were not able to compete with them, and hence economic loss was there with the rest of Europe. So what happened? France, they will revolt. By we are not getting food, we are not getting job. What this constitutional monarchy is doing? So finally revolt happened in France. Food shortages, widespread unemployment. This is what happened in 1789. Why? Because of that subsistence crisis. Similarly, what is happening right now? Food shortage, widespread unemployment. Louis Philippe flee away. He was so scared. He was so scared seeing those people revolting against him. So he flew away. National Assembly said that now France is republic. Which year? 1848. Okay, now go back to the starting of the story. When was that painting made by Frederick Sorrow? 1848. So when France became republic, he already knew that by France sneezes, the rest of Europe catches cold. See, he knew that other nations will now fight to become independent, and hence that is an utopian vision represented in that painting. Similar case, we have an example of Silesia. You guys please read it, where certain peoples revolted against the contractors. That's it. That's not so important. Okay, so the story of France is over. France became a republic. Now the story comes to another regions, right? Another regions in which first we will study about German region. By what happened in Germany? Do you remember? First time German people for that economic interest came together in custom union. Custom union. What happened in custom union? Yes, ma'am, we remember that they came together for economic interest, that let's unite and make what? Reduce the custom duties and all that. So after that, one more time they came together, that is in the Frankfurt Parliament in the year 1848, right after France became republic. These regions get motivated by humko bhi, we also want freedom. So region is Germany. Who are the participants beta? Middle class professionals. These are the person, business class, prosperous artisans came together in the beautiful city of Frankfurt. Why? Let's come and vote for all German National Assembly like France made. Let's make a what? German National Assembly. Okay, fine, bhai. Fine. What happened? They came together on 18th May 1848. How many people? 831 members. 831 members came together, marched in a festive procession. Marched in what? A festive procession in the city of Frankfurt, and this was convened in the Church of St. Paul. This is Church of St. Paul. What they did? They came together. They said that let us draft a constitution. We will do what? We will make a constitution for a German nation that is to be headed by a monarchy subjected to a parliament. Headed by beta what? Monarchy. They said, okay, monarch rule us, but you should be like subjected to a body that is parliament, and that body will be what? Working according to the constitution. Okay? Who is going to make this constitution? This National Assembly. Fine, the picture is clear. Okay, but it failed. This Frankfurt Parliament literally failed. Why? See, it was seeming like easy as it was done in France, but what happened in France? The people in the struggle, the revolutionaries were strong. Here what happened? They went to this person, Frederick Wilhelm IV. They went to this person referred as Frederick Wilhelm IV, asking him, who was Frederick Wilhelm IV? Obviously King of Prussia. Because if you want to unite the German Empire, whose power is more strong? Prussia, the biggest territory. So they went to this King of Prussia, asking him that, will you become the constitutional monarch? He said, am I mad? Right? Do I seem like fool? So he rejected the offer. He said that why would I give my power to a body that is parliament? No, I don't want to remain into like repression. So he denied. Second reason, beta, this entire body, Frankfurt Parliament, is dominated by the middle class. Pay attention. This entire body is dominated by the middle class, and they were not actually listening to the demands of workers and artisans. This is a failure. Third failure, participation of women's, right? See, the women's were giving every support which was required to the people of Germany during the time of war, during the time of revolution. But when it came to political rights, you know, when the women came in this Frankfurt Parliament, how they were treated, they were not even allowed to sit. These women were standing here in the gallery, visitors gallery. So hence, the third reason for failure is not giving political rights to women, and this became controversial. So again, a step taken by the German region to unite themselves get failed, but Germany is there. So something might have happened that united the entire Germany. Yes, obviously. And what's that? That is the next topic. So the region, German region, where people used to speak the language, where people used to speak the language German, finally becomes a nation. How? With the help of army. So the question is, can army be the architect of nation? Yes, architect of the nation. See this region and understand this. Frankfurt, Würzburg, Nuremberg, Bavaria, the Stuttgart, all this region was a place where German language was being spoken. Right? Now this region, particularly in this region, what was powerful? Prussia was powerful. See here, this is Berlin, right? So this Prussia was powerful. You can see this Prussia is so large. Getting my point? How they united this entire German region is the story here. So beta, the nationalist feeling was developing in Germany, we know. That is the reason they made custom union. That is the reason they made Frankfurt Parliament. But this nationalist feeling was always developed by middle class Germans. But what happened? These liberal nationalists or initiators were always apparently suppressed by whom? Either by monarchy, because monarchy, like see, Frederick Wilhelm War, he never wished to give his power. So it was suppressed by monarchy, military, obviously, the king's military, and large landowners. Why so? But yeah, large landowners knew this from day one. If power went into the hands of people, we have to somewhere sacrifice the land which we are occupying illegally. So these large landowners were there, referred as junkers. Junkers, MCQ. Okay. So what happened, bacha? Prussia. Obviously, Prussia took the leadership of the movement for this nation unification. At this time, the chief minister of Prussia was Otto von Bismarck. The chief minister of Prussia was Otto von Bismarck, who is considered as the architect of this process. Okay, who is considered as what? The architect of this process particularly, or we can say that mastermind behind German unification, the sword behind German unification. Why? Because he fought 3 wars over 7 years with Austria, Denmark and France. If you look at this map again, this was the region of German Empire, like German people, not empire, this region which was occupied by Austrian Empire. Right? Here there was Prussia, but in this Prussia also there was monarchy. Right? So now if we talk about this region was taken over by under French control, or no, sorry, this was under Denmark's control and this was under French control. So what happened? Prussia, the liberal nationalist in this Prussia, started this war in which the chief minister was Otto von Bismarck, fought 3 wars for entire 7 years resulted in Prussian victory, and finally 1871, see, they are fighting since long time. 1834 custom union failed. Sorry, it was not failed, but just a economic unification. 1848 Frankfurt Parliament failed. Fighting war since long year, getting united. 1871 they become independent. January 1871, Prussian King Wilhelm, okay, was proclaimed as the German emperor in the ceremony at Versailles. Okay. Achha, there is a mistake over here. Frederick William it is. No, I just got confused. Let me clear this to you. Wait, just give me a second. Let me clear this to you. This Wilhelm and William became so complicated because here it is Frederick Wilhelm IV who rejected the offer. Let me tell you the exact right now, which is the correct one here. Okay, so we messed up with William and Wilhelm. I get it now. But okay, so what was that? Let me tell you. This is correct actually. This was Prussian King Wilhelm I. Okay, pay attention. When unification of Germany was done with the efforts of Otto and Bismarck, it resulted into the formation of constitutional monarchy in 1871 and proclaimed King Wilhelm I as the emperor. Then, ma'am, why did you tell Wilhelm here also? Because I made a mistake. In the Frankfurt Parliament, the ruler, pay attention, in the Frankfurt Parliament, the emperor who denied the offer was not Wilhelm, it was William. Just a small mistake by my side, bacha, which I am correcting over here right now. It was Frederick William IV, the King of Prussia, who rejected the offer. Got it? So now one nation is unified by us, and that not by us, but actually it's Otto and Bismarck. He might be angry hearing that unified by us. He unified what? Germany. So see, now pay attention. It is not independence, it is unification. How it is unification? There were different German regions for which we fought, not we again. Otto and Bismarck fought the war and led to a united Germany in 1871. The story is not over because similarly we have one more nation, that is Italy today, right? This is the map of Italy, okay, which is a little not clear to you. Let me draw that map to you. See, this is Italy, particularly this is Italy. Okay, this is Italy as a nation right now. But during that time, it was divided into certain states like the German was. Similarly, see, if I talk about this entire region, one only common theme among this region was the language. And what was that language, beta? Italian language. This was the only common thing, maybe the common descent as well as the pasto. But it was politically divided into several states. This region was politically divided into what? Several states. This is known as Sardinia Piedmont. Pay attention. This is known as what? Sardinia Piedmont. Just a second, give me a second. Italy was divided into 7 states in which this particularly was referred as Sardinia Piedmont. Pay attention, this was referred as what, bacha? Sardinia Piedmont. Here in the Sardinia Piedmont region, who was ruling? The Italian princely house, that means the princely rulers particularly. Moving towards its right, there are 2 territories like Lombardy and Venetia. What happened in Lombardy and Venetia? This was under Austrian control. It was under which control, beta? This entire region, like with the black border, this was under the Austrian control. Okay, if you go to this kingdom of Sicily, so Sicily basically, this kingdom of Sicily, which was in the south of Italy, this was under, it is also known as South Sicily. Okay, this was under Bourbon dynasty. Now you might be thinking the same Bourbon dynasty in France. No, this is the Bourbon dynasty of Spain. So Spanish rulers are ruling the southern region of Italy. So much confusion. What is happening? But this is the thing. Like I started the chapter introducing you that there was no borders, there were no nation. Every place was divided and handed in the hands of different kingdoms or rulers. Similarly, this was under Austrian, this was under Italians, this was under Spanish people, and the center one which is referred as Papal State, where Rome was basically, this was into the hands of Pope, backed up by France. Pope, do you remember, the head of the church? So this was Italy. Now, unification of Italy is a big task. Acha, do you remember one person we studied in between? The revolutionary Giuseppe Mazzini, who visioned that there should be an united Italy. Don't you think the vision he was seeing was quite difficult? Yes, but it became successful. Let us talk about that. So basically what happened, bacha? The story starts with the entry of Mazzini. Now, who was Mazzini? Mazzini was a revolutionary which we studied at the time of age of revolution. Okay, so Giuseppe Mazzini put forward a program. He was the first person who visioned this. He was a visionary basically. Right? He formed the groups like Young Italy, Young Europe, joined like all the like-minded people, that nation is the unit of mankind. But what happened? He started revolution in the time of 1831 and 1848, but eventually it got failed. So when these revolution got failed, only person who is Italian in nature is whom? The ruler of the Sardinia Piedmont. Pay attention, who bhai? The ruler of Sardinia Piedmont, who was Italian princely ruler, and his name is Victor Emmanuel II. His name is Victor Emmanuel II. So obviously, when the revolution started by Mazzini failed, the responsibility fell on Victor Emmanuel II. Can he alone do that? No, basically every ruler needs a statesman. Every ruler needs a mastermind. And who is the mastermind? Chief Minister Cavour. Okay, so we can say that yes, Chief Minister Cavour was the architect of Italian unification, the mastermind of Italian unification. Now, what he did, basically, if I talk about the nature of Cavour was not that he was revolutionary. No. He was not that wanted to make democracy. No. Then who was he? He was a diplomat, a smart person, the mind, right? What he did, do you know that he didn't even know Italian language. He was better in speaking French, because we remember there was a time in Europe, France was basically the language of the large people, like big people, aristocratic people. So he knew French well. Using his alliance, tactful diplomatic alliance, this French engineered person defeated Austrian forces from Sardinia. Austrian forces. Now what happened? This was Sardinia Piedmont. This was Austrian forces. He defeated Austrian forces. This entire region came under the control of Sardinia Piedmont. That means under Victor Emmanuel II. Okay, that means under Victor Emmanuel II. I hope that this is clear to everyone. But still now, many regions of Italy is still remaining. Beta, the year that is written in this map are the years when these regions became the part of United Italy. Like if I talk about Sardinia Piedmont, 1858. Lombardy and Venetia particularly 1866. Venetia, the Austrian forces were defeated in 1866. Pay attention to that. Now we are moving to beta south. Now there comes in picture another personality, Garibaldi, Giuseppe Garibaldi. If you are thinking he is the brother of Mazzini, no. There was no connection between Mazzini and Garibaldi. It was just that once Garibaldi met Mazzini and became the part of revolutionary activities. After that, Mazzini started activities, failed, he died. Now, when Sardinia Piedmont was fighting against Austrian forces, all these was witnessed by Garibaldi. Garibaldi thought that now let me march with my army. He was a person who formed a red shirt army, a big army of so many people, red shirt, and moved towards the south kingdom of Spain. Okay, and here he fought the war with the help of locals over there. Do you know, when he went to that local people and gave them the slogan La Italia, actually what does La Italia means? To unite Italy. And those people were so uneducated, not literate, that they thought that this La Italia or La Italia is the wife of Victor Emmanuel II. But anyhow, he managed and made people understand that we are Italians and let us together make Italy as a unified nation. So war was fought against the Spanish ruler. They were drove away. 1860, the southern state of Spain, Sicily, which is known as, became the part of United Italy. And finally, it is said that in 1861, with Victor Emmanuel II as the head of the nation, was proclaimed as a united Italy. Your mind is running with one doubt right now, ma'am. What about the center Italy? Why are we proclaiming it as United Italy without even winning this area ruled by Pope Beta? Because it was backed up by France, which was quite difficult to challenge. But I will tell you what happened now. Later on, France was fighting with like lot of things. If you remember Germany, during the time of unification of Germany, at the same time, Otto and Bismarck is fighting with them, with France, Austria and Denmark. Now, how can they fight at both the places? So anyhow, they left the power over here, and later on, the entire region was referred as United Italy. But in 1861 itself, it is declared that Italy is united. And this is how we studied about one important topic, that is what, beta? That is unification of Italy. Germany done, Italy done. Now comes the strange case of Britain. And how strange is this that chapter is not getting ended? No, it's not yet done. The picture is still remaining. We have to cover all of them because this is the high weightage topic, high weightage chapter of your class 10th. Okay, now comes the strange case of Britain. Ma'am, the entire chapter was strange. There is nothing strange in Britain, but there it is, beta. So, Britain, one of the most known country to the world, one of the hated country by Indians. But you know, when you study the history of Britain, now it's quite interesting, right? It's quite interesting, and I would say that I personally adore the way they become powerful. They became powerful. Like if you look at the geography of Britain right now, it is just an island. Just an island surrounded by numerous countries that themselves are islands, and they were referred as group of isles. In this group of isles, there were people who spoke different language, have their own culture, their identity. Then how it is possible that Britain only became so much powerful country? That is what is strange about Britain, what we have to study. See, if you look at this map which I added over here, you will understand that this region is referred, this purple region is referred here as England. Why? Because here in this island, the people spoke the language English, and hence it became England. Okay, get it? Here in this green color is Ireland, where people spoke the language Irish. Another island is there, Ireland is there, Irish language basically. Now, when you can see here, there is Wales, okay, and here Welsh language was spoken, Welsh, okay, and then in the north we have, it's not being shown over here, but this is known as Scotland. Why? Because because Scottish language was being spoken over here. Ma'am, we are here talking about Britain. Why are we talking about here Ireland, Scotland? Because they have a history, shared history, right? When we use the word Britain and not England, there is a difference. Yes. Do you remember we call it United Kingdom of Great Britain? How this Britain become great, how it become UK, that is United Kingdom, is the strange case we are going to study right now. But it was never the result of any sudden upheaval or any revolution. Like you see, France became republic with the help of revolution. In Germany, we saw sudden upheaval. In Italy, we saw sudden upheaval. But no such condition was present out here in Britain. It was a long drawn process. Among these four people, people speaking Irish, Scottish, Welsh or English, gradually what happened, these English people were becoming powerful day by day. Okay, they were becoming what? Powerful. And one day, what happened? This English people made a parliament known as English Parliament. But it is well said in the world that the most powerful institution is English Parliament. Whatever English Parliament say, even the king cannot deny, or the queen cannot deny. It is said, it is just a statement. But yes, actually the parliament there is powerful than the queen or king. Why? Because that parliament is chosen by the people. So coming back to the story, this English parliament came into picture. The English people were becoming powerful day by day. They formed a parliament and replaced the power of monarchy over there in the year 1688. When? 1688, very time ago. Like not even France was under the clutches of Bourbon dynasty during time. There were nothing as a concept of nationalism. So at that time, they formed English Parliament. What do you think? This English Parliament will stay quiet? No. This English Parliament also wanted to expand its empire, and in that particularly the first target was Scotland. The Scottish people lives here, speaks the language Scottish, and this land is referred as Scotland. What happened? This powerful English Parliament went to the Scottish people and asked them to sign an act of union. What's that act of union? They said, listen, you are not powerful. Sign this act of union or otherwise we will start a war. Obviously, what they will do, they will sign it fearing the power of English. Bhai, they have great naval power at that time. So, Act of Union in the year 1707 was signed between England and Scotland, forming the United Kingdom of Great Britain. Why are we calling it as United Kingdom? By English means England, Scottish means Scotland, came together, Act of Union, became a territory. Now United Kingdom was formed, that means UK. And they are referring now themselves as Great Britain. So here comes the word United Kingdom of Great Britain. Getting my point? Now English people did what? They imposed their language and influence on the Scottish people, right? Scotland's distinctive culture and its political institution was systematically suppressed by no language, no culture, no political institution. Everything will be similar to that what is happening in England. Right? The Catholic clans that inhabited the Scottish Highlands suffered terrible repression. Why? What was the problem with Catholic people? See, if I talk about England was a place which was dominated by Protestants. If you guys know that in Christianity there are two groups, one is Catholics and the other one is Protestants. However, Catholics, L-I-C-S, okay. However, in Scotland, these Catholic people were in dominance, but obviously, when Britishers will come in power, they will try to influence the power of Protestants over Catholics. So, Catholic people were not happy. The Scottish Highlands was raising their voices, but every time they were terribly repressed. The Scottish Highlanders were forbidden to speak their Gaelic language or wear their national dress. It is not only Scotland that had this fate, it was Ireland, the next one. Ireland, the place where Irish people were living. Ireland was country deeply divided between Catholics and Protestants against the same problem. The English helped the Protestants. Why? Because in England there were Protestants more. Catholics were suppressed. The British dominance was imposed over there. There were certain people who started the revolt like Wolfe Tone and his United Irishmen, the group. However, it was forcibly suppressed. And there comes a time when Ireland became forcibly incorporated in United Kingdoms of Great Britain in the year 1801. So the same fate was felt by or happened with Scotland in 1707. Ireland became forcibly the part of Great Britain in 1801, and here is how United Kingdom of Great Britain came. And to represent its power, what was done, beta? The symbols were used like British flag, Union Jack, followed everywhere. National anthem, God Save Our Noble King, followed everywhere. And English language was imposed to show the power. Don't you think that this is really the strange case? Yes, it was. Okay, so now the major topics: Germany, Italy, Britain. over. Now we have two small topics, and by this we will be ending the chapter. The chapter after which you can relax and sit back. Not sit back, because when you will practice questions, na, everything will be like mix up. So I know it will take time, my dear students. You can watch this chapter, this same video, as much as time you want. It's all up to you. The video is open, public for you, my dear students. But do not get confusion. Still, if you are having any doubt, I am making short videos also for separate topics like unification of Italy, Germany, Britain, etc. Everything is being done for you. Don't worry about anything. It will be easy. Now coming to the easiest topic, finally, any topic which I can call easiest is allegory of the nation. Allegory, by allegory I mean that a female figure representing a nation, like Bharat Mata representing India. So a female figure, a personality that was chosen to represent a what we can say form of nation, right? Form of nation, an abstract idea of a nation in a concrete form is a allegory. Like Bharat Mata for India, we have Meraine for France. We have seen on the stamps the figure of Meraine. Christian de Meraine was a popular name in France, and hence it was chosen to represent allegory of France. We have similarly Germania, who is representing Germany. Like if you noticed, I don't know you did or not, when you see that Frankfurt Parliament, the picture of that Frankfurt Parliament on the wall of Church of St. Paul, there is a painting hanging. And that painting is this, Germania. I'm giving you a task right now. Open the NCERT book. Below this picture, there is a painter written over there. Remember that painter, because from pictures, question comes, and this type of questions can be asked. I'll just give you even one more task, that in the entire chapter, whatever pictures are there, read the boxes below them. Even I will be making a separate video for that also. Don't worry about it. Okay, so here we are done with Germania. Now, okay, one more picture is there. This I am telling you, beta. Like, see, allegory is also a symbol representing something. Similarly, there are more symbols which have some meaning, which were used during the time of revolution, during the time of unification or independence by nation. Like if you remember the France revolution, those French people used that tricolor flag. Right? Similarly, the symbols such as broken chains were used. Why broken chains is used? To represent freedom. The attributes are here, being free. Other than that, we have breastplate with eagle. See, breastplate with eagle. Can you see this picture? Yes. And this is the symbol of what? This is the symbol of strength particularly. Okay? This is the symbol of strength. Then we have crown of oak leaf. See, can you see this crown of oak leaf? This was worn by Germania, and it represents heroism. Okay, the heroic nation that fought by army to become unified. Then we have sword, obviously readiness to fight. Olive branch around the sword. So we will fight, but we want peace also. To represent that peace, willingness to make peace, olive branches are being used. Black, red and gold tricolor. So this was the flag of liberals. Liberal particularly used it. Rays of the rising sun in the background tells us about the beginning of a new era in Germany. The beginning of a new era in Germany. Is it okay, bacha? Are you clear with everything? Now moving to the last, most confusing, most demanded topic. Ma'am, please explain Balkan crisis. This is the last topic which we have to study in this entire chapter, that is Balkans crisis. Now what is this, bhai? Why this crisis, bhai? See, bacha, in the starting only, I showed you this is Germany. Okay, sorry. This is Europe. And in this Europe, now I think my brain is also not brainy. So this is completely Europe. In this Europe, here you have seen the countries like England, then we have seen France, Spain, Italy, Germany. When you move this side, that means eastern side, in the starting also I showed you that, beta, the western region is more developed. When I talk about more developed, that means more literate, more educated, more developed, and gradually the middle class participants rose there, which led to the feeling of nationalism. But that nationalist feeling will not stop here. How can you stop the feelings? No, it will gradually grow and shared with others. Now what happened? This feeling of nationalism went to the people of East. And what is this East? This East is Balkan region. If we talk about completely about Balkan region, beta, this Balkan region is ruled by Ottoman Empire, which is Islamic Empire in a Roman place. Like up till now, the whole of Europe was Roman, but in this eastern region went into the hands of Ottoman Empire, Islamic in nature, aristocratic in nature, do not wish to share the powers with the people, obviously consist of so many regions with different identities, with different culture, with their different language, okay, with various ethnic diversities. Fine, get it? Ma'am, how can we identify today where is Balkan region? Beta, it consists of countries like Romania, Hungary, right? Bosnia and Herzegovina, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, Kosovo, Macedonia, Bulgaria, and many more. Right? This region is referred as Balkan region. Now, why the crisis happened over here? Beta, when the feeling of nationalism was growing in West world, here it spreaded towards the Eastern one. They also want independence from Ottoman Empire. So the most serious tension in this 1870s period happened in Balkan region because of this rise of nationalist elements or tensions we can call. This was the region with geographical and ethnic variation, like I told you. The inhabitants, the people living over there, were referred as Slavs, we know. It was under the control of Ottoman Empire. Finally, we know this again. And now, these geographical identities want independence, but claiming their independence on the basis of their nationality. Now they want to form a nation, that means they want to define their territories, bacha. They want to define their identity and territories. So, as the different Slavic nationalists struggled to identify their independence, the Balkan area became the conflict of, like, place of intense conflict. Why? Let me tell you. For example, here is one territory, here is one territory, there is a region. They both are claiming, acha, this is my, because everyone wants more territory at the expense of other. This is what is happening in the world right now. Our neighbor is fighting with us. Why? Because of a territory. Here, there, if I talk about Iran, Iraq, they're fighting because of territories. What is happening in Jerusalem? Fighting for territories. So everyone want the claim of the territories. They are fighting. What happens when our neighbors are fighting? We go in the balcony, hear all those stuffs, and then come back at home and tell to our mama, isn't it? Yes, we enjoy that. So when in the nation, small countries are, not countries yet, small regions are fighting, what will be the big power doing over there? Britain, Russia, Prussia, Austria, Germany, Italy, by enjoying those fights and then gradually entering into those fights. Why? Because they thought this is good chance. If we help these small territories, now we will also get benefit, and these regions are important because it is access to Asia, Mediterranean Sea, Red Sea. What is this? Access to India only, access to Asia particularly. So the big powers came into picture. See, I'll go back to the Slavic nationalist where they are struggling to find independence. This area become the area of conflict. The Balkan state were fiercely jealous of each other. They wanted the territories at the expense of other. So meanwhile, the big powers came into picture, resulted into numerous war, finally leading to First World War, the war that world will never forget. And this is how First World War happened, because of this Balkan crisis. Okay, so Now we should rest because this is what we need to study in this entire chapter. Okay, entire chapter. But let me tell you one more thing, beta. This was only up till nationalism. What we studied in today's class was nationalism in Europe, when because of common identity, the people wanted a defined territory and wanted to make nationalism in a feeling in which we want that the cricket matches should be won by us, right? We should win in every race. But what happened when this feeling became intense? When British started feeling that not only in Britain I should win the entire world, and in that entire world it started entering into others' territories and occupying them, leading to colonialism, which means imperialism. They wanted to use the entire world and become the power, and that is known as imperialism. I hope now you are pretty understood like what is imperialism and how First World War has an impact on imperialism. Okay, so this was all about the chapter that's nationalism in India, and we have practice question time now. I'm adding certain homework question. You can take the screenshot, and bacha, do not fake it. Practice all the homework questions I'm sharing out with you, right? I know that after hearing this long lecture you would be requiring this PDF, this notes, so I am going to add it in the description box. You can hit the link given in the description box for this particular PDF, okay, because I want these homework questions to be done. Next time I'll come live where we will be solving certain MCQs. Up till then you will be commenting and coming and telling me that ma'am, I solved all the answers. So start preparation from today. I hope you understood everything in this large chapter. I will be dividing also. So meet you soon in the next chapter for class 10. Bye bye. See you.